Oh, God, what are we doing? Getting up this early in the morning. Oh, my God. Good morning. Hi, I'm Daniel.
Hi.
And this is Kata. And Kata, on the right there, we've got Audrey. And then we've got Keva. And then we've got Andrea.
Beautiful.
Hello.
Oh, nice to meet you. So nice.
Nice to meet you too.
How are you?
We're good, thank you.
How's the future looking?
Good.
Wow.
So you've had a whole day in the future. What was it like today?
Really hot.
Because here where we are in Spain, it's like getting colder and darker. And for you guys, it's the opposite, right? So swimming pool time.
Yeah. Yes, I think Keva went swimming today, didn't you?
Yeah, in the sea.
Yes, my daughter.
This is Mina. Mina, this is Audrey and Keva. Well, we're kind of like exploring the future. And we're talking to as many people as possible. The environment, and we're looking at climate change, working a lot with education, what the best education for the future generations is with the environment in mind. And you are the future. And, you know, what you guys are doing is effectively setting yourselves up to lead the future world. You know, if you're not in charge, who is? The way you live may well be a way that people need to live a bit more in the future. You know, from my perspective, you know, I see you guys growing your own food. I see, you know, you living in an environment where you don't need to go to the shops as much as a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, for your own reasons, but maybe there's, you know, bigger reasons that you have for all of that. Andrea, because you're my sister, right? We come from New Zealand. You're there and I'm in Spain. I wondered if you could briefly outline your childhood.
I remember it being really simple. Is probably the best descriptive word I can think of. It was just really, really simple. It was uncomplicated. And I think about the world these guys are living in now, and it's so complicated. They have to filter so much other stuff out that you and I never had to, because we just didn't have access to everything around the world, and we didn't have to hear about everything around the world or know about everything. It was just really simple. I'm not saying that that's better than how it is now, but I just remember when I think about it compared to these guys, it was just about walking to school, walking home from school, going to the swimming pool, or going to, you know, for you, soccer, for me, netball on a Saturday. You know, it was just quite a simple life. In the holidays, you visited people, or you went away on holiday with other people to, you know, either somewhere you always go or always with the same people. You know, it was very, very simple and uncomplicated. But I think there's been a real shift here in New Zealand back to that, where people can. I think people are actually trying really hard to really simplify their lives, because they recognise the impact of just how complicated the world is, that they're trying to keep it simple, what they can control. We're fortunate that we're able to do that a little bit more, because we live in a rural community. We live in a small community. We're aware of everything that's happening around us, but we can work in a more simple way because of where we are. And the kids go to quite a small school at the moment. We know our community around us. We all pitch in and help when we need to. We help each other with things. People give us things and we give them things that we've got, whether that's physical things, like someone might give us some plants or some vegetables or something like that, and we can give them some of the things that we've got.
Like eggs.
Yep. or you can give people your time,
Yeah.
and people give you their time, and people give you their knowledge, and you give them what you know. And I think that's quite special for us, and that's something that's really important to us. So we help out people when we can, and people help us out when they can, and that's quite a big part of how we live, I suppose. So in that respect, it's quite simple again, but it's about trying to filter out that sort of those world complications, you know, that it's not like we don't want to know about everything that's happening around the world, because we do, but it's about working on what we can control. It can be a bit overwhelming for kids and adults, but in terms of education, we don't want our kids to get too overwhelmed with thinking that they can't do anything about stuff. But you can do things about the things that you can control, like how you act, how you behave, your attitude to things. Actually, everything is better when we're kind to each other, basically.
I remember both grandfathers or grandparents, you know, and both of them had plots of land, small ones, and they grew vegetables, you know. And I always remember there was, you know, granddad always had like these sort of extra bundles of beans and, you know, of you know, lettuce, and, you know, he'd come around and he'd bring a cabbage, and, you know what I mean? It was sort of like, and I really undervalued that. But as I got older, I suppose I didn't understand how simple that was and what that really meant. Our generation in particular, we became very good consumers very quickly. I don't know, convenience, you know, didn't really think too much about, like, you know, maybe if we made a little bit more of an effort of growing the thing ourselves, it might actually make us happier and connect the community stronger. I don't want to start with the youngest. I want to start with Keva.
Oh, no.
And I want you to tell me about not your childhood, but I want you to tell me about your future.
My future?
Yeah.
Right.
You can close your eyes if you like and imagine it, or you can just tell me it, because you've probably planned it. I don't know.
You can talk about the things you were talking about before.
Anything that crosses your mind.
What I think about my future is I want to be more conscious of what my actions do, like where I get my food from, and if that food's coming from a good place, and not being a total freak about technology, not get too involved in all the problems in the world, and try and do my part to help, like, get the world back on track.
Wow, that's beautiful. I want to live in that future.
I want to live in your future.
Because you don't need all this fancy stuff, like listening to music, because you've got radios for that. You just need something that works, and you don't need to spend money on something that you don't actually need. Use that money for something that matters. Apple Watches and the latest iPhones and computers.
We talked before about trying to keep things in perspective a little bit.
Yeah.
Like with what actually matters and what doesn't. And people get a little bit caught up in the newest, not just the newest piece of technology, but the newest thing that everybody's doing on their technology.
And you don't need to be that person that knows everything about everything, because nobody knows everything about everything. Because you learn something every day.
Send a message to people, to kids from Europe. You know, would you like to send some kind of message? You know, from the New Zealand future you have there.
Yeah, just try and focus on the things that make you happy and don't, I suppose, try and fix something that really doesn't need fixing.
Don't fix it if it ain't broke.
It ain't broke.
Audrey,
Yes.
we have a family WhatsApp, right? And you tend to crash my phone with all of your achievements.
Do I?
I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about your sort of leadership.
Okay. So I'm one of 4 house captains at our school. So that means the younger students and students our age, my age and my class, they like look up to you and they look to you for what we should be doing and the way we should behave and stuff. And I hope that in the future I'll still be one of those people that people look up to and say, I want to be like her.
We don't have that in Spain or in Europe. What does it mean? How should you behave so to be an example in school? How did they recognize?
We have 3 values at our school: respect, service, and participation. Always being respectful of other people and their ideas and opinions and the way they are and who they are. Service, doing things for other people, even if you're not asked to do it. Doing things for other people makes you feel good about yourself. So that's a good one. Participation is trying new things, because you learn new things about other people and yourself when you do something new that you haven't done before. I guess if you do all those things, then you're going to learn lots of things and you're going to become a better person. At our school, that's something we really do all the time. We try to do all the time. That's something that people look up to you about, like, how is she showing service? What can I do more for that?
Wow.
That's great. And what does it mean in your everyday life in school? Like, kids are approaching you to ask you for advices, or you coordinate some kind of projects with them? What do you do?
Younger children, they like look up to you and then they go, oh, I should behave like that because I see all the older students doing that. And so I guess that's the right way to behave. So we coordinate like sports activities at lunchtimes and breaks and just fun things for everyone to do and make new friends and stuff. And that's fun because you see people enjoying things that you've organised, and that makes you feel pretty good.
And can you tell us something more about the projects you do in school related to climate change, for example? You know?
Yeah, so we've got an Enviro club and a gardening club, quite a good school garden where you grow vegetables and stuff. And then when those vegetables have grown, the gardening club goes and they harvest it and then they make it into something, like cook something up that they can eat and that they can share with the community. Enviro club, they coordinate things around the school, like they got a beehive, bird watching hut, and all these things that helps our school become more environmentally friendly. We've got chickens at our school, 3, I'm pretty sure, and they lay eggs and then we sell those eggs to the community and stuff. Our school is what we call an Enviro Gold School. So we've got an award. We had bronze and then silver, and then last year we got gold. So that means we're really environmentally conscious and we do all sorts of things for the environment, and that will carry on for years to come. We also have this thing that I'm pretty sure the gardening club coordinates. It's called the seed swap. Mm-hmm. So you can bring in packets of seeds that you're not going to use in your garden, and you can put it into this desk, and then you can take however many packets you put in, you can take out that many. Like if you bring in some carrot seeds, you could take out like beans or anything, and that way you're giving things you don't need anymore but someone else can use, and you're taking something for yourself that you know you can use and that will be sustainable.
Very much.
Wow. Did you go to a school like that, Kata?
No, I wish. Just imagine that, because you know much more about this than really anyone else. So I think that the you should be asked, how would you change the situation? What would you do? What is the first thing? You've got the power, you can change something, both of you. What would you do? What is for you the most important thing?
I think it's important that what we have now and like all our green spaces and our planet at the moment, I think it's important that for generations to come, they can enjoy that as well. And we're not going to just wreck it so no one else can use it and have it the way we do. I think it's important that everyone can experience it and how great it is.
If I had the power to change something, I'd probably change the way people live. In some countries, like in Syria, when there's a war and there's COVID-19, they don't have somewhere to go. And everything is about if you had the money, if you could, you would do this. We need to biff money out the window and just help them, give them somewhere to go, take all those people that are struggling to a safe place where we can teach them how to grow their food, so when this horrible war is over, they can go back and rebuild their city.
People who are homeless and people who live in poverty, everyone can live as equals.
Yeah.
And everyone can have a house and they can have a garden and somewhere to play outside. I think when we have that, we've achieved something amazing.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be so cool.
That's universal human rights. I will vote for you.
Made my glasses go.
Yeah, and I am. Sorry.
It's emotional talking about these things.
Dan and me, we are emotional people. So.
I've kind of always been aware from maybe 6 that there are people who don't live quite as well as us. Over COVID-19, I've kind of gotten to know better how badly people are actually living, because they don't have places to go and they're having to convert warehouses into hospitals and all these people are dying. It's hard to know that we're here and we're so much more safe than all those other people, and you really want to be able to help them, but you just can't think of a way to. What
you're doing is helping immensely, and what we're trying to do is share these stories, because if everybody thought like you, we wouldn't have any problems in the world. It's that simple. What we're trying to do is to have the conversation, and it's really, really powerful hearing your answers. So I wondered if you could tell me what your latest invention is.
Well,
or your favorite invention.
I've been writing really small little books. Some of them are inspirational, some of them are funny, and
here's two you made earlier.
Yes.
Like a cooking show.
I wrote a little story for Mum as a bedtime story, and then I wrote another book for the next night about diversity, and but in a funny way that's easy for people to understand, and about feeling good about yourself. It's got an inspirational message in the back, but they're all funny.
Would you read it?
Yeah. Yes. Smithina the Bug, written and illustrated by KBW. They lived happily ever after. The end.
I love Smithy and Smithy. I love them.
That's just, and what do you call that story? What's the title?
Smithina the bug.
You know, the bug is coolest bug ever.
Smithina's a spider and Smithy's a ladybug.
I wrote a book about microbes, but it's not even, and it's not close to funny as yours. I will reconsider publishing mine. I wanted to thank you for all the resources you sent us. It's incredible. I loved everything. I loved the curriculum, like overview, like with the climate change, like, and then I love the projects like from farm to table. No,
yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it? Garden to table.
Carbon to table, and then the other one, which was the forest school.
Oh, forest school, yes, that's a really cool idea as well. Yeah,
it's very good.
Yeah,
because we now have a project in the schools to make them edible.
No? Oh, what a cool idea!
Make them edible. So we used so much of what you sent us.
Oh, good.
You are our examples from the future.
That's great.
Can you tell us something more about how the forest schools are?
So at the moment, it's like an extra option that parents can use, or that parents can send their kids to. It's not a full-time alternative to regular school. The idea of it being full-time, this is what school looks like for some people, is what they're aiming for, but at the moment it's a one-day option in most places that I'm aware of. Students go with an educator and spend their entire day doing all of their learning in a forest environment. Learn about plants and trees, they learn about bugs, they learn about how everything's connected. They are encouraged to ask lots of questions and not necessarily have all of the answers. There's a huge cultural component, a lot of learning around traditional uses of plants. That is a really quite a major part of it. Food sources in the forest environment, the ways that plants were used in the past for health benefits, for first aid, for nutrition, for making things out of that were needed, for weaving, flax weaving, for all that sort of thing. So learning about, probably one of the biggest concepts of it is that nothing is wasted. Everything has a purpose. Everything has a reason and a use and a need, and things are only used if they're needed for that purpose. It's about learning about the actual forest itself, and then it's learning about the meaning of it as well, which I think is a huge part. It's that attitude stuff, it's the people stuff, people and how we use our resources. And it's probably looking back at that more simple way of how things sort of were in the past, and that things can be like that in many ways still. This kind of teaching would involve either a group of people or at least one person who is connected to the land. So in New Zealand, it would be called mana whenua, which is, so tangata whenua are people who belong to that land, and mana whenua are people who have generations and generations of their family being a part of that land. In certain areas, you would need mana whenua to lead you in that kind of learning, because there would be a lot of stories being told, myths and legends, to explain how things were, how things came about, that sort of thing. So that would be a huge part of it. Mana means your pride and your strength. So mana whenua are people who are, so whenua means land, and mana is the strength of the land. So the people of that area are the strength of the land. In New Zealand, traditionally, Māori don't believe that land can belong to you. It's the opposite.
You belong
to the land. It's the other way around. Yeah.
If we had more respect for the land and felt like we were more of a part of it, maybe we wouldn't be polluting it, and wasting, and all of those other unpleasant things. Tell us about COVID, because from our perspective of New Zealand in this situation, you appear to be very lucky.
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot actually, all year really, but since we went into lockdown in March, we talked a lot as a family about how incredibly grateful we are about where we are. We know our lockdown looked very different to a lot of places.
Yeah.
And it seems that even now, as a lot of other places are going through a really difficult time, we seem to be still in a very positive place. And we do genuinely know that and feel incredibly lucky.
We have a really amazing leader. Jacinda Ardern has done a really great job of making the big decisions that will affect all of us, but not everyone can always agree, but she's done such a great job of that.
She appears to be thinking of the bigger picture, of caring, and I think we've kind of forgotten how to care a little bit, which I think is very much what you guys are talking about. So to have a world leader like that, you may or may not have had a chance to listen to it, but it's a podcast called Mothers of Invention.
We listened to that, yeah.
It's so cool.
We've fallen in love with it because it's just this fun, humorous way to discuss these really important issues. But that particular episode blew my mind because it's, what does the future look like? Just loved what they said about how we can pick fruit and how there's no cars.
I think if that's what the future's going to look like, I'm very excited to be there and to live in that, because it's going to be amazing.
That world would help so many people live such a better life and be able to access way more opportunities, because there's probably so many kids who have big dreams and they could do something big, like if they had the money. And that's why money, I just find money stupid. Money connects up everything. In my mind, it's not the world. You don't need to care so much about money that it absorbs you.
Being in a very different lockdown situation than you guys. Even when you run out of money, it's not what it's about. You know what I mean? And all you can learn is that when you don't have it like you used to have it, all of a sudden you value the simplest things so much more. And so you're right, it's incredibly distracting, and it's actually designed to do that, to distract people so that they just get caught and keep spending. And really we're missing the point, and you guys haven't, so don't miss the point. And
and you value communities, and that's the biggest, that's the greatest wealth.
We get chickens that have been rescued from a battery hen situation. So when we get them, they're already a year and a half old. And so they don't have a hugely long life. But but when we get them, they basically have very few feathers. They don't really know how to be a chicken. They don't really know what they're doing. And they have a really nice life with us.
Yeah.
So over time, they've one after the other just, gone to chicken heaven. You learn a lot when you're doing something you haven't done before. So we know a lot more about how to look after them and what's best for them and things. So so we've just got two left, but we'll get some more when we're ready.
Yeah.
We have sheep and 2 cows.
21 lambs, and I think about
12.
12 sheep.
Eaten a couple of them.
Well, I've had a pretty good lamb burger around at your place, which is true. But I was going to go, you know, maybe there's wool options.
I won't be eating any more in the future.
Grass it'll just grow and grow and grow and grow. And then when we have a really dry summer, it's a bit of a fire hazard. So you've actually got to do something with it. So we also cut the grass for hay, and we sell the hay, or we keep the hay if we need it for our animals. So we keep some and sell some. Yeah.
Beautiful.
We're just figuring it out. We don't really know what we're doing, but we're just kind of learning as we go. And that's why it goes right back to what I said at the beginning about people helping us and us helping, you know, with knowledge. We've been able to help local people who've helped us share their knowledge about things like sheep and chickens and other things that we knew nothing about.
The neighbours over the road, when if we don't have a ram, they'll lend us their ram. Like over COVID-19, we might do a flour switch if we needed self-raising flour and they just needed normal flour. If they needed eggs, we'd give them eggs. If they had something they didn't need and they thought we might need, they'd give that to us in return.
Yeah.
That's the world we need to all live in, isn't it? And then that money thing you're talking about is who needs it? I mean, really, if we can all feed each other and help each other with knowledge and share information and grow together, then, you know, we don't need to all compete with each other to earn money, to have faster cars and nicer phones and all these things that just actually separate us from each other. 100% on the right track. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for, you know, this a wonderful chat. So much knowledge from you guys that we can now, with your permission, do something with. A little bit on social media, if that's okay. But I want
not the book.
Hey? Not the book. All right. No, that's intellectual property that you have there. We won't.
But I'm a huge fan.
But
please.
We're a huge fan. So
Smithy and Smetana, please.
If
you just keep writing. We won't publish it, but you just keep writing. This is the best.
What you guys are learning and how you're being brought up is incredibly inspiring to children all around the world. And Andrea, like, you know, as an example of what to do as a parent. Well done.
Good job, Mum. Thanks, mate.
And the quarantine's over. Can we come and live on your farm?
Please do. Please come.
I had 48 chickens.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Okay, so you know what you're doing.
Can I come?
Have a beautiful sleep. Hope you have lots of amazing dreams and new stories. And
have a good day.
Happy to meet you, three of you.
Yes.
I've got a question for you.
All right.
Why did you start like doing this, and how did it come to you, the idea of doing this thing?
Who do you want to go first?
I'm not sure. Whoever thinks of an answer first.
Well, I wanted to, through COVID, through being locked in my very dark house with no windows, I realized that life is about what you are. It's too short to do things that aren't important. So I wanted to do something that was important. And I thought that trying to understand how to make a better world for my child and you and his children and their children, and really I feel like my generation fell asleep a little bit at the wheel. I feel like we didn't understand how precious the environment was. And I don't necessarily think it was my fault or our fault, but I think that we didn't pay enough attention. And so my thinking was, it's about time to pay attention. And I reckon if I'm lucky, I've got half my life left, and I wanted to do things that were important and to try and leave the planet better than it was when I came into it.
Pretty good answer, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that was it for me. And now let's hear from Kata.
Well, something similar, really similar. What I wanted with this is just to start talking with people. I know you are quite aware of what is happening, but here it's not that much. We still live in this old consumer's world where we talk to each other like through phones, and it's really important to us how do we wear, what do we wear, and things that I really think it shouldn't be so important. So when my daughter was born, I went to live on the mountains, and I had a 2-hectare farm because I wanted her to enjoy life you guys have. But we were alone. So when she was like 6, 7, she said, let's go back to Barcelona. I don't want to live just with the chickens. So, so we came back, but our hearts stayed there in the mountains. We still miss those chickens. So when I hear you talking about the sheep and lambs, and I completely relate to that. So there for me is that like care, universal care, not just for humans, because it's not just for humans and it's not just human, but for everything that is alive. So that was mine.
Universal care, that's a nice phrase.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're coming to the conclusion, actually, that's what it's all about, and actually we're always working on our mission statement and our definition of Froof and what we are and what we're doing. But what our latest one is which is kind of sticking, care in the age of climate change, and it's sort of like, it's not just soil, and it's not just plants, and it's not just electrifying everything and solar panels. It's sort of a bit more, it's a bit deeper than that. What you mentioned about indigenous cultures and myths and legends and ancient technologies, and it's really, it's like, let's slow down a little bit, let's just go back a little bit and see what we've forgotten,
find those roots.
Thank you for asking us.
Thank you so
Keva,
much.
because actually
no one ever asks.
We have been asked actually a lot, and we can't answer it. But like today, after this conversation, we've answered it. It's not like we want to be better than anyone at just solving the problems, but we want to have the conversation, and we realize that maybe it's as simple as that.
Mm-hmm. Because everyone has its own solution, no? Let's just share them and see if some other people's solutions can work for us. Yeah. And maybe our solutions can work for other people. So it's just that, not providing solutions, but like talking about it.
What's the solution?
I think climate change. I think respecting the planet and respecting all the things that are on our planet, that would be helpful, because then we care and then we have a reason to actually do something about it.
If we all stopped using cars and we all like went back to bikes and walking, that would solve the problem of the smoke coming out of the cars, and we can the greenhouse gas. It would also solve the problem of people being obese, and because they're keeping moving, and it just solves a lot of problems, and we can think about electricity smarter, use it in a more clever way, so that we're not like spending money on fuel, so you've got that money for something that's actually important.
A lot of the solutions appear to be right in front of you, right in front of us.
Yeah, they're really easy to get to, but some people just don't, they just can't be bothered doing it. They're happy with the way things are, but they're only going to realise when it's really bad just before we can't do anything about it, and it's too late.
It's about doing what's right, not what's easy. And what you mentioned before, Dan, about our generation, we got caught up in how easy things were. So it was easier to buy something from the supermarket than to grow it. And that was exciting because it was easy and quick. But there's actually not really any courage in doing what's easy. The courage is in being brave and doing what's right. And I think the real key is, like you've mentioned, this whole thing for you is about having these conversations, which it absolutely is. And the most important part of a conversation is the listening part. It's listening. So I think if we all listened a little bit more to each other, I think that would be a pretty good start.
Thank you so much for your time and your vision. And
thank you for asking us.
Yeah.
Could you be Froof New Zealand? And could you kind of like, keep the conversation going and ask people about the different species and send us
talk with us in like a month or two just to check in to see what's happening new, what are you doing, what we are doing.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
What does Froof stand for?
Well, it stands for a new way of looking at climate change. It's an attitude. It's a new word. If we're going to tackle something so new that we don't really even know the words for it, maybe we need new words.
So it doesn't stand for something. It's not F-R-O.
If you turn the F upside down, there's the word root. You take the F off the front, it's roof, which is shelter. If you look at the two O's, they're kind of like eyes.
Or O's of mushroom.
So you could be froofy.
Froofy.
You'd be feeling froofy today, positive about climate change. Or you could be exhausted like you are now and you could be a little froofed. Let's froof the future together, little froofers. We have to have fun with it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.